Hi, so we're going to deploy an Azure Kubernetes cluster node, which will be running an application. So let's see how to do that. So we're back on the Azure portal, and we need to go to look for the container, how to create the container. So we're going to go to create a resource. And this time we want to go to, from containers, we want to go to Kubernetes services. So you click on create. And we need to get our resource group, so we'll create a new one, lab 17, that's RG lab 17, and we'll create the Kubernetes cluster name, and region is USA, and availability zones fine, Kubernetes version, and we are using the default, but later we'll see how to upgrade to the latest version. Node size, this is quite large because we're going to be deploying only one node. So I'm going to use B2S that uses 4 RAMs instead of the 7 RAMs. Select. So scale method, let's leave it on manual. Node count, we're going to just create one node. And now validation pass, I'll click create, and deployment is in progress. So our deployment is complete, so go to resource. And now we can see the Kubernetes cluster lab 17 has been created. So if we go to our node pools, we can see the node pool that has one node currently deployed with the size we selected. So let's click on the agent pool, and we can see that we have running one node. Let's click on nodes. And now we have our nodes running with the version stated out there and the image also. So we've been able to create our Kubernetes cluster node, and now we need to deploy an application inside this node. And how do we do that? So let's open Bash, and now Bash is open. We need to get the credentials to the node so that we have able to have access to the node. So how do we do that? We use this command, which is AZ Kubernetes service get credentials, then the group, which is the group lab resource group lab 17, then the name, which is Kubernetes cluster lab 17. So we're going to use that to get the credentials for Kubernetes cluster connection. So let's paste that and press enter, and now we can see that the merge has been done. So we have access to the authentication, so we will be authenticated anytime we try to access and look at where the configuration file has been saved in. So we're ready to now check the nodes that we have running on the Kubernetes cluster. So to do that, we are going to use this, that's the kube ctl and get nodes, and that's viewing the running node. So let's copy that, and I'm come here to paste it and enter. And now we can see our node that was created, and it says ready and is serving as an agent. We can see the time it was created and the version. So our node is ready to receive our app. So how do we deploy the app? We need to find out where to get the app template. So to do that, I'm just going to Google, and I'm going to say Azure deploy Kubernetes, so that it will give us see the quick start deploy an Azure cluster service cluster, and we can see quick start deploy an Azure Kubernetes service cluster using Azure CLI. So this is exactly what we are using, and we're going to run this application, which is the Azure voting app, and we'll have access to the manifest file, which will help us to deploy this application. And if you scroll down, it should be somewhere down here. So we've already created our resource group, which we did on the portal, and we were able to create the cluster, which we also did in the portal, and we were able to authenticate and that's how we got the file, like get the credentials. That's what we did. And now we also checked the nodes, so, and we saw the output that it was running. So next we're going to copy the YAML file, and we're going to name it the Azure Vote .yaml file. Let's click on copy, and we'll come back to here, and would need to create the file. So paste that there, Ctrl V. This is the GitHub repository for that Azure voting app. So this is where it was gotten from. Azure samples, Azure voting app. So we can see it's the same code we have here. We can copy it from here too. So once we've done that, we need to now name the file. So we'll save, and it says save as what? So we're going to copy this Azure vote.yaml file. So it's going to be the manifest file. So we'll paste that, and once we've done, we'll save it. So we need to close this, close editor. And once we come here, let's list and see what we have. So now we have the Azure dashboard.yaml file, and that's what we are going to run next. So to do that, we're going to apply the kubectl command, and we'll say kubectl apply and force it the Azure dashboard.yaml file. So we're going to copy that and paste. So we want to now run this and deploy it in the Kubernetes cluster node. So press enter, and we can see it's currently deployed, and we can note that we have the Azure vote back, that's the back end created, and the Azure node vote front as the front end created. And we're going to get the front end IP address so that we can see the app. So how do we do that? And we're going to use this command, which says kubectl get service Azure votes front. So that's to monitor front end IP creation process using the kube command. But if we're going to use watch, then it will give us the steps in creating. It will just show us the progress while it's creating that. But we don't need that because we believe the IP address has already been created. So just copy that and come back here, and we're going to paste, and we'll press enter. And we can see now that we have our external IP. This is the IP address that we need to copy in our URL. So we're going to do that, and we can see the port HTTP 80 is currently active, and we have a load balancer involved. So let's copy that here, and I'll press enter. And now we can see we've been able to successfully deploy the app within the cluster node. So if you click cards, we can see it's increasing. Dogs, let's reset it. Dogs again, cards again. So our app is working. So next we are going to scale up, and what that means is that we're going to create a new node to support our current node. So we're going to have two nodes. So we're not going to do that on CLI, we're going to do that in the portal. So now we're back. Let's just go to check the resource group, and let's take note. Our resource group lab 17 was created, and if we open that, we can see the Kubernetes cluster there. But we also have another resource group that was created, the Kubernetes cluster lab 17. That's MC resource group lab 17, and it contains other resources that the cluster depends on, like the load balancer. We also have the virtual network, the virtual machine scale set, the route table, and the public IP address. So let's take note that there is a new resource that was created. So go back to RG Lab 17, and we can see our cluster. So we come down here and select our node pool. That's the one we have currently here, and we need to scale. So we'll say scale node pool, and we're going to do that manually. So add one more to make it 2, and that's fine. So we'll say apply, and if we come up to our notification bar, we can see that it's scaling node pool. So let's go back to our terminal, and now we can see that we need to check out what's happening. So we're going to run this Kubernetes get nodes watch so that we can check the scaling of the nodes. So we're going to do that, copy, and I'm going to run that here. So currently we can see we have one node that has been deployed already as the agent 15 minutes ago. You can see the version. So let's just wait a bit to see what's going on. And now we can see currently it's saying this is ready. As our new pool is ready, and the role hasn't been assigned yet, but it says it's ready. So let's just bring that down a bit, and we can see it now says successfully scaled node pool, and it's saying ready here, but um, it's not giving us the role. So let's control C to come out of that, and let's now run the command again, this time without the watch. So let's see if the nodes has been created, and now we can see that we have the second node created, but the role hasn't still been assigned. So let's do that again, and now we can see it's been assigned as an agent. So we have two nodes that are currently deployed, and the application will scale between the two nodes. So we've successfully been able to create the application running on the Kubernetes cluster node, and we can see 2 of 2 ready, and we can see the version and the size. So in our next video, we're going to show how to upgrade the version of the nodes, and at the same time, we'll be able to stop the nodes and delete them from our resource group. At the same time, we'll learn how to delete the resource group. So let's see how to do that in the next video.